We were all cherry-cheeked anime fans at some point. Sadly, that time usually ends with a bang. It's time for bad anime shows to get what they finally deserve. No matter how many episodes or how bad it is, I'll prevail and beat them all. It's time for Undroppable.
Ever wondered what it would be like to kill a god? How about a bunch of gods? Well, if committing deicide is your thing, then man are you gonna love Campione. This show aired in the summer of 2012, and produced by Studio Diomedia, formerly Studio Barcelona, until they reformed and renamed themselves in 2008. Campione is licensed by Sentai Filmworks in the US, and MVM Films here in the UK. And to round off our info dump of facts, let's bust out our trusty spoiler warning. So continue at your own risk if you haven't seen this series already. You know what I find really funny? When our hero starts out or goes to a foreign land, no matter where he is, people will always instantly recognise they're Japanese. Like here in Campione, he gets held up at knife point by an Italian-speaking lass, saying something he doesn't understand because, as we learned earlier, he can't speak Italian. And then he replies to her in English, only saying his name, and she instantly twigs he's Japanese, and is of course fluent in speaking it. Like, I know there are things in stories that get around this language barrier thing, but it's so weird every time I see it done. So yeah, the meeting between our two mains, Godo Kusanagi, who is trying to return a Chekhov's gun, and our leading lass Erika Blandelli, who is trying to retrieve the Chekhov's gun, begins with Godo being held at knife point by her. There are weird ways to introduce your characters to each other, but I don't think I've ever seen armed robbery before. So let's just put that on the list of things I've seen in anime, right next to boobs containing more fat than the rest of your body. Also, I love the fact that no one in the background cares. Like, they have full sight of this, but just shrug it off like it happens every day. So we get introduced to the real meat of this show, the god killing. So from what we learn, all gods are heretic gods, which slip out from the realm of myth and assume a corporeal form here on Earth, and then begin to cause harm to the Earth depending on what type of god they are. So a sun god would make where they appear to be scorching desert, and a war god apparently makes war look all that more tempting when they're around. So these beings have always existed, and only those with magical powers can see them, appearing only as natural disasters to everyone else. I do love how the first evening they spend together after an attempted robbery is Erika and her maid getting wasted, when Erika's age at this point is 15, the same as Godo's. But maybe that's how the Japanese see us European folk, since we do go a bit overboard, especially when it comes to football and drinking. So our hero uses the gun, by which I mean the Prometheus Grimoire, to beat Verafragna, who has grown bored of winning all the time, and was reviving old gods to see if they could beat him. I mean, yeah, it's boring when you win all the time, but when you're the god of victory, then I don't think you can quit your job by being defeated, as you're a god of victory. Not only that, but he's fully known as the Persian god of victory and the personification of aggressive triumph. But then he does get beat, but it's not really Godo that beats him, but Verafragna's own power turned against him. That is one good thing and bad thing about this show. They have all the ancient mythology to mess around with, and it's too much. Especially when you're blending it all together like this, as you do get gods that should never lose being beaten, as well as some gods like Athena that changed over the years from what their original meaning was, which means you really have to pay attention in this show. Miss one line and you're doomed to confusion. Another sad thing about this show is its world that it tries to build is all talk and not show, as we are told time and again that there are only 7 Campione in the world, and only they can stop gods from causing a mess. But we only ever see 3 of them, including our hero Godo. Also the magic societies, the Copper Black Cross and Bronze Black Cross, and the Musashino, we never learn all that much or even see all that much from them, apart from how they're really outclassed by both the gods and the Campione. So other than being support for the Campione, they really don't do all that much. The curse of the Campione is actually very interesting, when it's explained like how he can't have magic used on him by mortals, so he's safe from anything both harmful and beneficial, unless used internally, as for some reason that gets around it. As we see with the whole, they can just mac on each other to use the Get Smart spell. So how no one has just made a magical poison and got them to drink it is a bit beyond me at this point. All in all, this series has a lot going on, which works both with and against it, where it explains the crap out of some parts while leaving others lacking in depth. The animation and opening are lovely, and I really enjoyed seeing and hearing it every episode. The ending wasn't really my thing, but not a bad song, just not my taste. This series needed to focus more with what it had, rather than cramming too much in, as it just becomes a brain overload. Also, if I ever hear Erica say Claudilione ever again, I will rip my own ears off, as that got really annoying, really fast, especially when she keeps shouting it. So if anything, this series has taught me if I get a golden sword by killing an ancient god of victory, I too can have my own harem of hot foreign chicks that will jump at the chance to have my babies. And in the end, I'm fine with that. So I'll see you in the next Undroppable.